So
Mhm.
I think that's why a lot of people in our community don't talk about
Don't
PCOS,
talk about
because
these things, yeah.
I get so many girls from India and Sri Lanka DM me all the time saying, like, like, my mom doesn't know, my partner doesn't know because I'm scared they're gonna leave me. And because they themselves
That's
are
so
scared. Yeah.
heartbreaking.
Because they themselves have been told PCOS means you're not gonna have kids. And
Yeah.
it's like, yes, it means we might have a bit of a harder journey to get to that point, but it doesn't 100% rule you out.
Mhm. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Taboo, the podcast where we spill the beans on topics that we're just too afraid to talk about. Episode 3, we are going to be having a guest on our podcast today. She's going to be talking about her PCOS and her fertility journey. So, as always, get cozy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's dive right in. So, before we just get started and we dive right into our episode, I just wanted to give a brief teaching on what is PCOS. So, PCOS stands for Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. It's a hormonal disorder that does impact women of childbearing age. It alters your hormone and your insulin levels, but there are different ways to manage it, and we'll look into that further into this episode. But common symptoms of PCOS are, hair loss or hair thinning. You can have darkening of the skin, especially in areas where you have like thick skin folds, so like the back of your neck, under your armpits, in the groin. A very common symptom is having irregular periods. So women with PCOS sometimes can go months and months without having a period. Another common symptom of PCOS is having excessive hair growth, especially on the face. This is due to an imbalance of the male hormones that female have. So one thing to remember in PCOS is that there are different ways to get it tested, to be diagnosed. There are different ways to manage and treat it, and we'll look into that further into this episode. But essentially, the textbook way of treating it is usually by diet, by exercising, going on birth control to help regulate the menstrual cycle. Also, a lot of doctors will start their patients on metformin, and metformin is an anti-diabetic medication, because people who have PCOS usually have insulin resistance. So that means that our bodies, if you don't have any kind of diabetes, we have a hormone called insulin. So anytime you eat something, insulin is released and it helps to regulate your blood sugar. In PCOS, the insulin isn't working as well and it's resisting. So it can lead to like high blood sugar levels, and that's why patients are started on metformin. So just to give you a general idea of what PCOS is, and now we'll get right into our episode. Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. I would like to introduce you to my special guest. It's our first guest on our podcast. So this is Shaini. Thank you so much for coming on. If you want to just introduce yourself.
Hey, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited that this day has finally come since last year that we spoke about it. So my name is Shaini, and I guess most people know me as someone who struggles with vision loss, as I'm a huge advocate for the visually impaired community. I do a lot of research, fundraising to help with the research and treatments for people who are suffering with vision loss in Canada. And I also am a representative of Canada for the Retina International UN board. And when I'm not doing that, I'm also advocating to how you can naturally reverse your PCOS, as I got diagnosed with PCOS 4 years after I got diagnosed with my vision loss. So that was a fun journey to deal with both at the same time, as they kind of interlock with one another. So I guess we'll get into that later today. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Great. So, yeah, like Shiny was saying, guys, we're really going to be focusing on her journey of PCOS and navigating fertility. It's really important. Like I said, the whole goal of this podcast is just to break stereotypes, break taboos, open the conversation, breaking down stigmas. So, we're going to get right into it and dive right in. So, Shiny, could you maybe walk us through the moment you were diagnosed with PCOS and what that experience was like?
So as most people, I think you kind of know that you kind of have PCOS, or doctors kind of bring it up, but then you finally get diagnosed once you do a bunch of testing. So I would have been about 27 when I officially got the diagnosis, and doctors were talking about what can be done. So, but I started seeing symptoms as early as like 23. So I saw symptoms as a 23. Finally, after 4 years later, they finally were able to diagnose me properly and say, yeah, you're officially PCOS because of this X, Y, and Z. So 28, I'm now 35. So it's been a while.
It's been a while. So could you talk to us about like what were the maybe the initial signs? Like, did you have an idea before you got diagnosed? Is that what you were saying?
So ever since I was in high school, I've always had horrible, horrible periods. Okay. To the point where the cramps were so bad, I would be like in fetal position, I would throw up, I would faint. And like doctors always said, well, that's normal. It's normal to feel pain, like when you have the period, that's normal. And I've been told that all my life, so I thought it was normal and I carried on. And then fast forward when I was 23, I all of a sudden gained a bunch of weight. I was exhausted, had all these like weird symptoms, but then doctors were all kind of very dismissive, like, oh, you have irregular periods, you gained a bunch of weight. It's probably both combined together. Just lose weight and it'll fix the problem.
Okay.
And it's kind of like, okay, so like it all started with irregular periods, me gaining weight and me being exhausted. And then um, around the age of 27 is when I got really, really bad. I would lose chunks of my hair. I started losing eyebrows. I started getting a little bit of facial hair, like under on my chin line and stuff. So when you do all the research or you can Google it, it leads to PCOS,
Right.
all those symptoms.
Is that what you did? Did you like Google it?
Yeah,
You did?
because yeah, I kind of had an idea I had PCOS, but like at that time, social media wasn't really there. There was no one really speaking about it. No one talked about these things. So like,
Yeah.
it's not like you can. If someone later on you do find out a lot of people go about this in silence, so no one's talking about it. So no one's going like, hey, like like I have these symptoms. Do you think like I have PCOS, or do you have PCOS? Or no one openly talks about these things,
Right.
right? It was like, especially when it comes to PCOS and it being linked to fertility issues in our community, it's kind of like a
Yeah.
shame
Yeah.
notation, so people don't talk about it. So like you had Google, that's all you had, and now Google like just scares you. So, so like you kind of go with what you have, and like the medical system isn't the most helpful when it comes to PCOS. They're still very old school when it comes to how they treat it. So
Right.
you're not really given much to work.
Yeah.
So I Googled, and so yeah, and for me, I had PCOS all that time, but by the time I even got diagnosed with PCOS at the age of 28, my body went into premenopause because I hadn't had my period for 2 full years.
Oh my gosh.
And then, so I didn't have my period from the age of 27 and a half, and then I only got my period when I was 30. Like during COVID is when I got my period again.
Okay. Wow.
So my body completely shut. So it was too late. Like I guess I went too long without taking care of what was happening and fixing everything in my body. So my
I
body
see.
just was like, oh, you don't have your period, so okay, you must be going into menopause.
Oh my
Kind of
gosh.
went to the next phase of my life, 20 years or so ahead of time.
So, just to give an idea to our listeners, is that something that happens commonly in PCOS?
It's not. And also going into premenopause at a very young age is very rare. It really takes your hormones to get into a really messed up level for your
Mm,
body to even think that you're going into premenopause.
okay.
Because like going into premenopause is your body's way of thinking you're done having kids, your body has come to that age. You do not no longer need your eggs anymore to produce. So it goes into that phase of its life.
Yeah.
So my body just wasn't ovulating, wasn't getting its period for 2.5 years. So my body just automatically went into that phase of its life
Into that phase.
because my
Yeah.
hormones were at that point that my body thought it was going to that
Right.
point. So it took a lot of care to bring it back to where it is.
Yeah, for sure. My
Yeah.
gosh. Um, wow, that's honestly it even though I'm a nurse too, like seeing how the body works in different ways, it's insane. Like it's just it has its
Insane.
own clock, it has its own tune, and these things just happen without our control, and it's like
Yeah.
it's shocking, but it's also
Yeah.
like kind of eye opener that, wow, my body
Yeah,
can take
because
on so much and do so much.
exactly. It's like our body needs like a signal to go on to the next step. And like
Yeah.
if our body signals it too soon or too like
Yeah.
late, that's where it's like at the end of the day, I think everything has to do with timing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Timing and,
Absolutely.
unfortunately. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
how
I
our
agree.
body works. And even the seasons play a part. So
Right.
it's crazy.
Yeah. All right. So, what would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions you had about PCOS before your diagnosis or maybe even after your diagnosis?
I guess I can start with like the medical field, like how my interaction with the doctor was when I got diagnosed. It was kind of okay. Our lab work shows that your hormone levels are off here and here, and you have cyst in your ovary. So that draws us to our conclusion that you have PCOS. Okay, cool. What do I do? And I feel like the medical field kind of just throws birth control at you and says, here, take birth control. It'll tell your body when to have its period. So basically, not really your real period because your body's not ovulating on its own. It's chemical induced.
Yeah.
And then the doctor said, when you want to have kids, come see me. Basically, meaning I'm going to have to get off the birth control. My body's going to be even more messed up. And then, oh, you can't get pregnant? Okay, let me refer you to an IVF clinic.
Yeah.
That's basically the runaround you're going to get. So
Hmm.
they give you a temporary band-aid to solve it. So you can go and imagine, like, I had gotten diagnosed at 23, and imagine I had stayed on birth control up
Yeah.
until like 35, 33 when I got pregnant. 34, whatever. So that would have been about 10 years of being on birth control.
Yeah.
And then imagine getting off of it
Yeah.
and getting my
Yeah.
body to, like. So I think, I don't know if this could be considered misconception. It's like thinking that piece, only way to quote unquote fix it
Fixed.
was to go on birth control.
Birth control.
And
Yeah.
like you go into a doctor's office trusting their word. And in my
Hmm.
case, they had, when I told them I don't want to go on birth control, they had put me on metformin, which is
Mm.
also a diabetic medication, but research shows that it can help with getting pregnant and with PCOS.
Yeah.
In my case, it did not work. It burnt my stomach. I got off
Oh,
of it
did
in
it? Oh my
2 weeks.
gosh.
I had horrible side effects, and
Yeah.
I said, no, I'd rather suffer with no period at this point because it was horrible. So I think my biggest misconception or fear was not being able to conceive naturally or become a mom due
Yeah.
to PCOS.
Was
And I
this
think,
something, sorry, not to cut you off, but
no, no,
was this something that you were thinking way before you were even married? Or is this something that kind of
yes,
happened in the last couple of
I've
years?
been wanting to be a mom since I was like super
Yeah.
young,
Yeah.
and that's something I guess very maternal in me that I always wanted. And so I guess already like being diagnosed with a vision impairment and then to get diagnosed with PCOS,
Yeah. That's a
you're
lot.
kind of just like, okay, what do you do?
Yeah.
So for me, I guess you jump to that conclusion. You're like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to have kids, so like, and then birth control, I wasn't a big fan of. Like, I've been on birth control when I was much younger for the painful periods, but it would make me throw up. So when they wanted me to go on it for a long period of time, and at that point I was very single and nowhere to be married, so I knew I'd be on birth control for a very long time.
Yeah.
I was lucky in a sense that I found out about this while I was single and not actively trying, that I had
Yeah.
time to figure out how to fix it naturally and kind of give my body what it needed in hopes that the day I do start trying, that it works out.
Yeah.
And I know that's not the case for everyone. And I know I'm
Hmm.
fortunate that I had the time to do that. But I wish people knew that the only way to like reverse it isn't through birth control, and that PCOS doesn't mean that you can't have kids. I
You
think
can have
that's the
kids.
biggest misconception. I think that's another reason why people don't talk about it. The
Hmm.
shame of putting it out there because people will automatically assume, oh, she's not going to be able to have kids. And you know how it is in our community.
Yeah.
If a girl can't have kids, then she's not deemed marriage material. And
Yeah.
in my situation, I'm someone with a visual impairment, which already made me not
Yeah.
marriage
Like
material.
not eligible kind of thing.
Yeah, eligible,
So
exactly.
stupid.
And it's, don't get me started, that's another topic of a podcast. And funny enough, I didn't even tell my parents I had the PCOS diagnosis till 2022. So me and my
Really?
husband told our
You
parents we were going to
even
get
hid
married
it from your parents. Wow.
because I didn't want my parents to stress because
Right.
they were already stressed that I had been deemed not marriage like material. And then
Yeah.
to add this to our community who's automatically like, they're going to talk, oh, she's blind and she can't even get kids. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, my parents, I didn't want to give an extra headache to my parents. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why a lot of people in our community don't talk about
Don't
PCOS
talk about
because
these things. Yeah.
I get so many girls from India and Sri Lanka DM me all the time saying like, like my mom doesn't know, my partner doesn't know because I'm scared they're gonna leave me. And because they themselves
That's
are
so
scared. Yeah.
heartbreaking.
They themselves have been told PCOS means you're not gonna have kids. And
Yeah.
it's like, yes, it means we might have a bit of a harder journey to get to that point, but it doesn't 100% rule you out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what like the PCOS community needs to understand is like not to give up because we just need to get our body back in alignment. A lot of things in our body works with it being in tune with
Mm-hmm.
nature, with how we feel our body. And I think putting birth control is kind of inhibiting our body to reverse itself to be back in balance. And I
Right.
think that's one of the things that I found in my journey that doing things naturally benefited me in the long run.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest misconception is that PCOS leads to not being able to have kids. I'm not saying that it will make, sometimes it just means that your journey will be a little different
Different.
and
Yeah.
straightforward,
Right. So
ovulating.
you're talking about your journey of, you were saying that, your doctor said that come see me when you're ready to have kids, and then pretty much leading you to IVF. So
Yeah,
what did you do even before like trying to have a
yeah.
baby? What did you do to kind of make your body back into tune? And did you go see like a
So
naturopath or something? Or
I did a bunch of steps. So luckily with COVID, it's like the bright side of COVID for me. We were home. So I wasn't going into the office. No one was going out to eat. No one
yeah,
was like, you're home, you're eating, you're cooking everything.
yeah,
I decided, okay, this is like the most perfect time for me to do everything naturally. So first thing that I had done was I completely cut out alcohol. Did not have a sip of it. Then I cut out dairy because dairy is still massively produced. There's a lot of hormones in it now. And so with
hmm,
having a hormonal imbalance, I was like, okay, let me take out the dairy and see how my
yeah,
body does. Took out the dairy, and then I started doing research online about women's hormone levels, balances, and what stuff we need. And I came across something called inositol, which is like a natural thing in your body that is used for ovulation. And so I found a company, and I was very eerie of what I put in my body. So I chose products that were made in Canada, approved in Canada. That way I knew it was safe for our body.
yeah,
And I found a company in British Columbia who made supplements, and it was inositol, and it was a pill that you take once a day in the morning. And that I would say was the biggest game changer for me.
wow,
It really helped my body start ovulating again. And that was one huge sign for me that my body was slowly getting back into it because it went from 2.5 years of not ovulating, not getting my period, that finally getting my period during the most stressful time of COVID meant something was going
yeah, it
okay.
was going right,
Well.
yeah,
So I did that, and then I slowly cut out gluten as well. So basically, I just wanted to get my body back into reset mode because my body was totally inflamed and everything.
yeah,
So I did all that. And then once things started opening up and during COVID, I went to go see acupuncture, which really helped me as well. Because at that point, I really wasn't getting my period probably, but when I was doing the ovulation checks, I was ovulating, but my period
okay,
still hadn't come back.
yeah,
So when I went to go see her, she was like, "Oh yeah, I can fix you." And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do something, but I need to see you again in 3 days after your period. So I'm gonna book you an appointment for Tuesday." And I'm like, "But I don't have my period." She's like, "Oh, you're gonna get your period and you're gonna come see me on the third day." I walked away saying, "Okay, I'm gonna end up calling and canceling this appointment because I haven't
you
got
didn't
my
get your
period in
period.
like 2.5 years. How is this woman gonna change anything for me?" I got my period a day later. I
Whoa,
was like, you gotta be kidding me. And so I went to like, oh, so it looks like someone got their period. I was like, yeah. And so she's the one who told me, she's like, your period is not supposed to be painful. She goes, I know you probably grew up all your life thinking your painful periods are normal. She goes, that's not normal. And you're not supposed to bleed like this.
mm,
So she basically fixed, aligned, and got the blood flowing and the inflammation in my body. I went to
wow,
acupuncture. I still go to acupuncture now. She really helped me, and along with my diet and supplementation. Also, a lot of women with PCOS, especially South Asian women, are very low
hmm,
in vitamin D.
Yeah.
And low vitamin D is also a leading cause of PCOS.
Yeah.
So especially South Asian women are scared to get dark. We stay away from the sun. We also live in Canada here, so we don't have
Yeah,
much
that's it.
sun. So like
Everybody
it's like
needs
a
vitamin
bad
D. Yeah.
it's a bad combination. And for PCOS, it's take vitamin D. And
Yeah.
when it's nice out, just go for a walk, which is even more beneficial for your body. So I did all that. I found out that because when I had gained all that weight from PCOS, doctors had told me go lose weight. So I went into high intensity workouts like kickboxing, but I was gaining weight. I was doing the opposite.
Yeah.
And then I did my research. So I found out that high intensity workout actually does the opposite when you have PCOS because it raises your stress hormones called cortisol.
Yeah.
And so it takes you longer to bring those levels down. So if you go to bed with high cortisol levels, you end up having lack of sleep, which is
Hmm.
like a vicious circle because you wake up tired, exhausted, craving sugar or coffee
Yeah.
and all these things, and you just go back in a loop and you're never getting the rest. Your body's not like functioning properly. So I literally canceled my membership to everything and just walked.
That's amazing.
Just make sure I got my
I
10,000
love
steps.
that because I hate exercising. I
Girl, it was
absolutely
the
hate it.
best thing that ever happened to me because I was like,
Yeah.
I hate working out. If all
Yeah.
I have to do is walk and like eat
That's it.
healthy
It's
and
so much
it's fine.
easier.
And it
And
was
you're
great
still
because
working your heart muscle, right?
exactly,
That's like the main
exactly.
important
I
thing.
would early in the morning at like 6 in the summer, walk with the sun going up, and it was like the best thing. Listen to my podcast and just walk.
Yeah.
And it was the best. And it wasn't a high intensity. My heart rate was still elevated to a good point, but not to the point where my cortisol levels were shooting up and
Right. Shooting up.
I was out of, breath. And I would do like low intensity weighted workouts, but like I would take breaks in between to monitor my heart. So it was a lot of like lifestyle changes. And with
Changes. Yeah.
COVID, it gave me the time to make those changes and gradually get into it. So it wasn't like a shock to my body or to my own lifestyle. So that's what I did, and I still continued to do all that. I only started eating dairy and gluten once I got pregnant because our
Okay.
doctor would like just eat whatever now at this point.
Yeah.
Uh, but up until then, it was no alcohol, no dairy, gluten. I would have a cheat day every month and a half here and there. But there's great alternatives out there now, but you also have to be careful with what's in them. But just like
Yeah.
a guideline of, I cut out milk completely. Like milk wasn't for sure not in my system. But yeah, honestly, just knowing the vitamins that your body needs, all the
Yeah.
nutrients that your body needs that your body was lacking, I just need to reset my body. I think that really helped get my period again, and my periods were less painful when they came back, and it was just my hair was starting to grow back again, and it's just everything started again. And it was nice, But then I did notice if I cheated with dairy, I got more painful periods, and this would come.
Yeah.
Um, Also, another game changer is castor oil. Rubbing it on your belly clockwise every day
Yeah.
before bed, except when you have your period.
Yeah.
Gets rid of cysts in your ovaries
Right.
and helps you digest and makes you have less painful periods. It's like my
I've
magic
seen
potion.
this like trend on TikTok or maybe Instagram about people lost like 10 pounds. I'm just like, what?
I haven't tried, but like I do like massage it around my belly, so some must go in my belly button, but I don't directly put it in my belly button. I've been doing
Mhm.
it for since about 2022. I've been doing the castor oil, but don't use it when you have your period because you'll bleed a lot.
Yeah.
Just when you're not, and it does wonders. It's also great to massage on your throat if you have any thyroid issues. It helps with
Yeah.
the inflammation. Or if you have any cysts on your bodies, the castor oil helps. Because I used to have cysts because of the PCOS.
Mm.
You put castor oil and it makes it drain out.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
really
so
cool to know.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you talk about all these like holistic and natural
Hmm.
approaches, and this is not something I'm used to, right? Like being
Hmm.
part of the medical background and all
Exactly.
that. So, for me myself too, like I understand when I'm working at the hospital, there's like it's all medications, right? Like you
Hmm.
have patients who are on like endless lists of medications. And so obviously you never want to get to that point, especially at our age when we're
Yeah.
starting, those problems can start to build up. And then you see your aging parents and you're just like, "Oh my God, I don't want to get to where they are." And so you realize more and more now that the only way for you to kind of avoid those things is by taking a holistic natural approach, by doing these things like you're saying,
Hmm.
like castor oil, I've always heard about castor oil for like constipation
Hmm.
and like people use it for like hair growth and like, eyelashes and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But I've never heard of it for like cysts and like
Mhm.
everything you were just saying. That's incredible. So thank you for sharing that. I really like that tip. I'm definitely gonna try that.
Very helpful.
Um,
But don't
okay,
use it when you're
so
pregnant. Anyone that's listening, if you're pregnant, do not use castor oil on your belly.
you do not use castor oil. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good to
Yeah.
know. Well, speaking of pregnancy, do you want to talk to us a little bit about, how you kind of got to being pregnant, or was there
Yeah.
anything maybe that changed as you were trying to conceive? How
Mhm.
long did it take you?
So, a month before we got married, I wanted to go do my family planning also because of my genetic eye disease and everything. So I went to go see my gyno, they did everything. And they told me that because my body went into premenopause, the likelihood that my eggs are even viable, healthy is very slim because the transition that your body makes into going into menopause, it
Right.
basically thinks that you no longer need to have kids. So it kind of gets rid of your eggs slash they get fried, ruined. So we were told to start trying as soon as possible, and that in the spring, if we don't get pregnant, that we will need to start IVF.
How
And
many months did
so
they give you? Like 6 months?
yeah, so it was in July, and they told me to come in the spring.
In the
So
spring,
it's like
okay.
more, yeah. So I
Yeah, a
was
little
getting
more in the
married
spring.
in the end of August, so yeah.
Okay.
And then we were getting married, and then I need to have emergency eye surgery. So like we couldn't even start trying right away because I had surgery. So I was waiting for surgery.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, so like I ended up having surgery in October, and we're like, okay, we'll start trying, but like I could tell myself no stress because they told us in April you're gonna come to IVF. So we were like, okay, let's go on vacation before April, and then we'll start the IVF journey because I'm not gonna want to travel when all
Yeah.
that is happening. So uh, October rolled along, November, and then I shits and giggles. I was like, oh, I feel. I guess in your head too, you're like, oh, I feel pregnant.
Yeah.
Let me test.
Yeah.
Test it. I was like super hungry, but I think it was all in my head too. So I get a negative test, and I'm like, okay, but like I was disappointed. But at the same time, I was like, okay, but like I wasn't even what was I
Yeah.
expecting? Like I was
Yeah.
kind of told, so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. Then like a few weeks go by and like I'm supposed to get my period. Like my periods aren't really like 20, 30 days. They're like here and there because of the PCOS. So like one day my husband comes and like I have like cramps. So my husband comes home and he's like, oh, you look really pale. You look awful. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting cramps. Like I'm getting my period tomorrow for sure. I'm like, I'm really hungry though. He's like, okay, I ordered food. I'm like, I never finished my food. I scuffed it down. And my husband was like, you're definitely getting your period tomorrow. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to bed early. Like, I'm really tired. So he's like, yeah, I'm from. Go to bed. I woke up in the middle of the night and like something told me test
Yeah.
3 a.m. Okay. And I know people say like test in the middle of the night because like your pee will give you a better result. And I tested, I waited in the bathroom, nothing. And I brought the test back into our bedroom. And my husband was like, oh, what happened? Well, I went to the bathroom, I tested, but like it's negative, like whatever. He gets up to go to the bathroom. Comes back and he's like, babe, you might want to put your glasses on. I'm like, okay. I put my glasses on and it says I'm pregnant. And I'm like,
Oh
I
my
looked at it, I
gosh.
started crying. And I was like, no. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, we're both crying. And I'm okay. But like, as excited as we were like, okay, but we don't know like the quality of our egg, right? And we don't know how this is going to be. So, and at this point, we're like, okay, we're not telling anyone because the entire
Yeah.
pregnancy, I was
It's
just
so
scared.
early.
It was
Mm-hmm.
just so scared. So I was like, oh crap, I need a gyno that actually works at St. Mary's because I want to give birth at St. Mary's. And so finding a good doctor that specializes PCOS and everything, found a doctor and doctor appointment wasn't until like after the holidays.
Oh.
So I was like, oh my God. So we were initially like, we're not going to tell our parents till 3 months till we figure it out. Yeah, I had a week of having a beautiful pregnancy where I wasn't nauseous or anything, and then it just all hit me.
Oh
And
no.
so on my birthday, we ended up telling my parents because I was so sick. And I
Yeah.
was supposed to host Christmas. And my birthday's
Oh.
in December. I was like, there's no way. So we ended up telling our family, but we had told them, like, don't tell us both because, like, it's
Yeah.
still up in the air. Even when we went to go see the doctor, we got a heartbeat. We were super excited, but, like, the doctor, too, was like, okay, let's just take our time. We need to see how everything comes out because of the premenopause and the egg. So we waited till the harmony test, and the harmony test was good. So we were like, okay, fine. And then we had to wait for the anatomy scan. And then when we did the anatomy scan, it was like the day before we went on vacation, but our daughter was like not budging. So they
Yeah.
couldn't see anything. So they're like, oh, we need you to come back. We're like, okay. So then like it was only week 25 that we were got the green light.
Oh
You know,
my
yeah.
God.
So like 6 months,
25.
yeah. So 6 months of being pregnant, I only told my uncles and aunts, and they're all just like, "Oh, you might as well have told us when you gave birth." And I was like,
Were
like
you showing
there's,
at that point?
I hid from everyone. I was showing, I was showing, yeah. And like even when I went on vacation, when I went on vacation, I didn't post pictures of me because I was like
Hmm.
visibly, and it sucked because like I was like, oh yeah, people know, and it's like gonna be summer, I can have ice cream. Like the doctor told me I can have dairy. I haven't had actual ice cream in like forever, so I was like, oh perfect. Come back from vacation. I had done the gestational diabetes test, which I didn't realize that when you have PCOS, you're at higher chance of having gestational diabetes because you're insulin
Hmm.
resistant.
Right.
Came back with gestational diabetes, and I was like,
Ugh.
damn it, you know? So that
Yeah.
was one thing. So it's just like one thing after another. But I must say, like, having gestational diabetes made me go back into eating healthy again and like
Hmm.
being active and like made my labor much easier. And it's just, I'm very grateful and like happy that I took the time to take care of my body to get to that point. Like, I know I'm very, very, very fortunate to have gotten pregnant naturally and for it to have
Yeah.
gone properly because that is not the road that we saw for ourselves,
Hmm.
you know? And that's what we told our parents too. Like, as soon as we gave birth and we were like, don't ask us when the second one is because we might have gotten lucky with this process this time.
Yeah.
We don't know what the second
At
one's
the
going to
next
look
one.
like.
Yeah.
And it's just don't ask anyone,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And even when I was pregnant and we were hiding it, like for Christmas, I had gone to families' houses and they were all like, oh, we thought you were going to share some good news with us. Like, like other people got married before you or after you got pregnant, like, And then when I told my uncle, like, I was pregnant, he said, oh, thank God. I was telling my wife, I know we felt so bad that someone else got pregnant before you. And I'm like, bro, like, why? If I'm not fussing over it, why
Yeah.
is the rest of the community fussing over, And like someone else saw us and was like, oh, thank God you're pregnant because I was gonna ask your mother-in-law, like, what's taking so long? And I literally looked at the woman, I was like, I haven't been married for a year yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, yeah, but you're old. I'm like, oh wow, wow. Like, like
I
30,
swear to
30,
God.
34 is not even old to get pregnant any like you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like yes, our parents got pregnant when they were like 20 and
Yeah.
like,
But it was a
22.
different
Now,
generation. It was a different
exactly.
time.
Now we're so like, there's generational trauma where we don't want to
Yeah.
be in that situation of poverty or like, we want to set our kids up for success. So we
Yeah.
want
We're
to make those
focusing on our
smart choices,
careers.
And there's also health issues that we want to make sure we're healthy enough
Yeah.
to bring a new life into this world. And pregnancy isn't the next to-do list
Yeah.
item
That's
on
it.
our list all
Exactly.
times, like, yes,
100%.
I got married, and yes, I was one of the people that started trying as soon as I got married. That's because of my health issue.
Hmm.
Honestly, if I was younger, I don't think I would have started trying
Yeah.
maybe a year or two later.
Yeah.
But it's all about timeline and timing and how things work. But yeah, so that's my pregnancy story. And luckily, like, I didn't have to go through IVF. And I know so many people who have gone through IVF or infertility, and a lot of people last year who gave birth who had a rainbow baby or they had gone through IVF and it was their last embryo that worked.
Yeah.
It's it's a lot. You once you share your story, and even when I was pregnant and didn't publicize it, people were messaging me saying, "Oh, how do you reverse PCOS? Because I have it and I'm trying to get pregnant." And it was so hard to tell them like, "Oh yeah, this works because I'm pregnant," because I didn't share it yet. Or even
Yeah.
when I wasn't pregnant, I kind of felt like a little guilty, kind of giving advice to people who are like, "I'm trying, can you help?" Because I hadn't got to that point of trying yet. I
Hmm.
didn't know if what I did or what I'm doing helps with getting pregnant or
Helped
if it
you.
just
Yeah.
helps get your period. So I would always have to give them a disclaimer like it worked for me to ovulate and get my period, but I don't know about
Yeah.
the pregnancy part. Like I hope it works for you because I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
But now, luckily, like I have gone through there and I have a beautiful daughter, and I can say it did help. But I think it did a
Yeah.
huge part in helping me reset my body. And Now I just need to make sure I reset my body again because
Yeah.
I've just been eating like crap since I birth. So I just need to reset my
Do you
body. I
even get
haven't gotten
time
much.
to eat though?
Oh my God. But that's the thing. You don't get to eat when you snack,
Yeah.
right? Like you snack or like, especially because I'm breastfeeding, so I'm eating a lot more. So I grab things that are easy access or whatever I can put next to me on the couch while I'm breastfeeding and she falls asleep. So it's
Hmm.
like, that's why like you have to eat mindfully. And I think
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that now so I don't screw myself over
Hmm.
in the long
Later.
run.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I'm very, very grateful. Like I honestly didn't think, it would be this soon. So it was a nice surprise.
Yeah. No, it's like you said,
Happy
like
to,
everything
yeah,
happens for a reason
yeah.
and there's a timeline and everything. So I'm so happy for you guys and
Thank
congratulations
you.
again.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your story and even though it might not be like medical advice like you said, it's
Yeah,
still a perspective that someone might take and be like, "Hey, let me just try this. Maybe this
yeah,
will work for me, you know?"
yeah.
And I think the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway I can take from your experience is really just it's your own journey. Everybody's going through their own journey, and you can kind of pick and choose from people's
Yeah,
perspective, but you have to do what works for you, and what
yeah,
works for you might not work for another person, you know? So,
exactly.
keeping a positive mind and just like pushing through, like you push
Yeah,
through, and you've been dealing with this for so long. And thank you for being an advocate for these things and talking about it because it really needs to be spoken about more. And
hmm,
like you said, like as soon as you get married or even before you get married, it's as if there's this checklist in our parents' brains
yeah.
that you got to get this done. And it doesn't really seem to apply to
Men,
the boys in the family. It's always the women. And I
yeah,
feel like that's going to take years to change and that's up to our generation to change that.
yeah.
And now you have a daughter, so I'm sure that's something that you're thinking about as well. But just for people who are out there, you know, just talk about it. Talk about it because it always helps.
Hmm.
Things will get better. The more and more people talk about it, the more knowledge we can share and the knowledge we can spread. But coming to that, you know, you had your husband as your support system and
Hmm.
your family as well. Were there any like other external resources that you could recommend maybe to people who are going through PCOS or fertility issues that maybe you know of or
Hmm.
you used?
Honestly, I'm online on Instagram. I like your Instagram. Once you look at one video, it kind of filters what you need. Like I looked at one conceiving video, and I kept getting all these other videos on what to do PCOS related. And then once my phone heard that I was pregnant, it showed me videos of things to do when I'm. So honestly, if you talk about PCOS, I'm sure you're gonna get videos about PCOS right now as
Yeah.
we're talking about it. Your algorithm will figure it out for you. But honestly, I know social media has its like ups and downs. And honestly, if you find your community online, I find it's a plus side. Um, there's um, there's a great account called PCOS Weight Loss. She does amazing stuff. She shows recipes, like easy recipes to eat, easy workouts to do that help you with your PCOS journey. And for pregnancy wise, I honestly is just find your inner circle that like will support you and
Yeah.
won't judge you. And
Yeah.
just honestly, I know as we get older, our circle gets smaller, but I think it's like that for a reason. And just kind of focusing on your circle, and they're there for you, you're there for them, and just honestly, the less outside noise, the better, I
Yeah.
find. And
Absolutely.
so it's nice to have an intimate moment when you're pregnant and with your close family and friends, and it's a nice little secret that you guys get to have, and like you can share it with the world when you're ready. But it's just for me having a partner that was very supportive and very understanding. um Pregnancy is not pretty for
Hmm.
all of us. I'll be the first one to say, like, I was not that person that had a pretty pregnancy at all. I was out of commission up until week 20.
Yeah.
uh it was hot mess. And so,
Oh my gosh.
so having a supportive spouse who will pick up the household chores and,
Yeah.
be there for you and pick up what you're craving or what you can keep down is a plus side. And I know for those of us who have to go through treatment or anything, having a spouse who's there to, help you with the treatment, understanding of our mood swings and stuff is very important. I think make sure if you want to have kids, you're having kids with the right person.
Absolutely.
That's rule number one. Whether it be before you get pregnant, while you get pregnant, postpartum, you need a partner who's 100% there and supportive,
Harder.
because
Yeah.
that will make it or break it for you and
Yeah.
him and for your family. So I think that's
Yeah.
key number one. But I think with our community, our parents just want us to
Yeah.
get married and have a kid, and I, everything, like I said, has to align and timing wise. So don't compare yourself to someone else. You do not know what's happening behind closed doors. Instagram, TikTok is just a beautiful reel of that very moment that's very edited and posted.
Yeah.
So don't compare. Communicate with your partner and figure out what time is right for you, if it's even the right time, and then work on it step by step. And honestly, don't compare if someone is doing this on Instagram. They're doing this, so we should do this, or like,
Yeah.
they're at kid number 3, so maybe we should not just do it at your own pace.
Yeah.
What's right for you, and I think that will be one less stress on your shoulders, and it'll be an easier process for everyone going forward.
Yeah, for sure. What's like a message of hope you can maybe give, not just to anybody with struggling with PCOS and fertility, but just to any woman out there, like if this is something you wish you heard when you were kind of going through this?
Honestly, not to freak out, not to overthink it, because I literally, my brain went to the worst case scenario right away.
Yeah,
Whether it be
which is
my
normal. I think that's like a
whether
woman
yeah
thing.
whether it be my whether it be my eye diagnosis or my PCOS, my brain went to the worst case scenario right away, and society made me think the worst case scenario also.
Yeah,
So I think you have to like trust yourself and know that you can do it, and then just have faith and hope that it's gonna happen within time. I know it's easier said than done.
yeah,
Trust me, I know that. But sometimes you just need that little hope, knowing that it's gonna come to you at one point, and just keep trying. And just sometimes when things feel like it's the bottom, it's actually like the beginning of you to like get to where you
your
need to
way
go.
up. Yeah,
Yeah, because I remember at 24, I thought my life was done,
yeah.
and then it's only after 24. Sorry, it's only
Oh,
after
it's okay.
that I was able to really focus on myself. And then here I am with a daughter who I've always wanted. And at one point I thought it was impossible. So
Yeah.
I think I think just having hope.
Oh my God, Shiny, you're so strong,
Sorry.
honestly. No, don't be. Don't apologize. That's the whole goal of this is really to talk about it and it's gonna be emotional. So thank you for sharing and I know it's been tough for you, but
Man, I thought I was gonna get through this whole thing without crying today.
that's
So close.
okay. That's fine. It just shows how much you've been through and your resilience and
Thank
it's
you.
okay to cry. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. So thank you for sharing your story and talking to us about everything. You've given us a lot of hope. You've given me a lot of hope, even I don't have PCOS, but it gives me continued hope that yeah, everything will work out the way it should. So thank you again. And yeah, I think we can end it there. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to my Spotify account, my channel, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. I'm on all the socials. But yeah, take care everybody and see you in the next episode. Bye.